All right, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Peace be upon you all, and welcome to the Women's Mosque of America's 6-year anniversary, as you can see. My name is Hasna Maznavi. I'm your founder and president, and I'm just so happy to be here with you today. After 6 long years, we're still going strong, alhamdulillah. Pandemic couldn't keep us down, thanks to you guys. And I want to take a few minutes to just go over some of our accomplishments that we were able to achieve with your help this past year. Before I do that, though, I hope you all stick around. First, we're going to have an amazing khutbah with, I love that I can just do this. First, we're going to have the khutbah with Farrah Khan, who is our returning Khateebah. If you guys were there 4 years ago, she gave her first khutbah right after she had lost her first city council race. And then she ran again in Irvine, joined city council, and just recently, 2020, she became the mayor of Irvine, and is the first Muslim woman mayor of a major US city. So we're extremely proud of her and extremely excited to have her give our 6-year anniversary khutbah today. And then afterwards, so we'll have the khutbah, we'll ask everybody to pray on their own at home. And then afterwards, we have our Q&A discussion circle on Zoom live. We're gonna have Dania come and join us. And she's a poet, an amazing poet. She's gonna be treating us with a special performance. So please do stick around. That's gonna start at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So yeah, let's just go over, alhamdulillah, we've had an amazing 6 years. This past year was quite different, quite challenging, but we were able to stay strong because of your support. And the first thing shift that we made was our 30 days of Ramadan video series. So we were able to, every single day of Ramadan, release a new video. And as you might know from our previous newsletters, every single one of our videos takes about 15 to 20 hours to produce. And we take it very seriously to present these videos and to archive them in a way where no one can ever say again that, oh, but there aren't any Muslim female speakers. No, there are a ton, and we have them all archived, so no more excuses. So as part of our strategy and part of our archiving and documenting the historic work that a lot of these Muslim women are doing. So thank you for helping us achieve that. And to complete our entire video library, we now have nearly 100 videos on our YouTube page. So we ask you to continue to share those, but it did take a lot of work, and was only possible through your financial support. So thank you again for making that possible. We also, this past year, conducted a community-wide survey. So if you are on our newsletters, you're getting those announcements, and we also poll you guys from time to time. And when we got those results, it influenced our decision to shift to virtual format rather than going back to in-person jummahs. So we want to thank you again for your input there, which we definitely take very seriously to always listen to our community and make sure that we're serving you in the best way possible. One of the things that we got from that, or one of the pieces of feedback that we got from that survey was that a lot of you were requesting mental health to be a topic that we highlight. So we had several different programs. The new virtual format helped us have a new type of program. So we started having roundtable discussions, and we brought you a conversation on Hajj, women and race, patience while in the cave, coping with isolation and the pandemic, and what just happened, which was a really great message from Khateebah Gail Kennard on dealing with the political aftermath of the presidential election. One of the things that I'm so happy that we did and so proud of is that we led an inspiring interfaith event. So, a lot of Muslim organizations and mosques like to focus on interfaith work, which is great. But we really feel at the Women's Mosque of America that it's important for us to get our community together first before, we extend outside. So it's really important to us, and we've been committed to Shia Sunni work for the past 6 years. But this past Ashura, we had a roundtable discussion called Understanding Shia and Sunni Perspectives on Ashura. And we featured both the Sunni and Shia perspectives and highlighted the different ways that we can celebrate the same holy day. So it was a really amazing discussion. And if you haven't seen it and you haven't seen the two khutbahs that preceded it and inspired the event, we definitely encourage you to check those out. We did make the transition to online jummahs, and this was an amazing thing because from the beginning, we've always had international and national supporters. And so this was the first time we really got to see, especially in our Q&As, we got to see all of our supporters from across the nation, all over the world. We got to see people tuning in. So it's been a really amazing experience to really finally come together and see all of your faces, all of you who've been with us, virtually all of these years. And subscribe to our newsletter. And we thank you for sticking with us all these years, even though you haven't been able to visit in person. To support us from afar has really meant a lot. Finally, one of the most important things that we did this past year, again, only because of your support, was that we partnered with Network for Good. So this has enabled us to finally easily transition to getting monthly donations. And with these monthly recurring donations, we finally have a really stable foundation of financial support for our organization. So I thank you again. We all thank you on behalf of the Women's Mosque of America for all of you who signed up this past Ramadan to become monthly donors. We thank you for your support because you are the ones who made all of our work possible. So we can't thank you enough. And if you haven't already signed up to do so, we do ask you just sign up for $6 a month. We know right now is a challenging time, but hopefully almost everyone will be able to do at least $6 a month. And, so celebrating our 6 years together, we really hope to continue to do this work of uplifting our entire ummah, the entire Muslim community, by empowering Muslim women and girls. So thank you again to everyone who's been with us these past 6 years, and especially this past year, we know was very difficult for everybody. So we want to thank you for showing your support nonetheless. So now I'm going to pass it over to our Director of Operations, Samia Bana.
Assalamu alaikum. For those who are new, I'll repeat our ground rules and policies. At the Women's Mosque of America, we celebrate and respect the differences of opinion within our vast religion, and we believe that our community's diversity is a beautiful sign of mercy from God. We are an inclusive middle ground space that welcomes all Muslims from every sect, background, school of thought, and level of religious practice. We also invite our interfaith sisters from all religious backgrounds to join us as observers, participators, and supporters. We have a come as you are dress code policy, and that means everyone is welcome to come dressed as they normally do outside of the mosque, even when joining our online events on Zoom. Today, here is how our Friday Jummah prayer service will be offered. After the online khutbah is over, we will be holding prayers offline in order to accommodate the differences of opinion on the matter of prayer. This means we will ask you to pray on your own at home. At 2 p.m. Pacific, we will start our live Q&A discussion with the Imam on Zoom. This is only open to women and children, including boys 12 and under, who have RSVP'd through our newsletter. If you are joining us there, please log into the waiting room at 1:45 p.m. and turn your video on so that we can clearly see you. For help with mental health services and counselors, please reach out to info@womensmosque.com and we will do our best to connect you with the right referral. If you find yourself in need of immediate support and want to talk to a counselor right away, please call the 24-hour crisis hotline at 310-392-8381. Now I'm happy to introduce our Khateebah. Farrah N has worked extensively with many community organizations to host events, collaborate on efforts, and provide support. She founded a children's interfaith group, First Drops, in 2011. The organization provides children ages 5 through 13 and their families opportunities to go on site visits to churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples throughout Orange County to get a better understanding of one another. The group partners with a local church every fourth Sunday of the month to feed the homeless population in Santa Ana. Farrah has always enjoyed working with the community. She started by volunteering at her children's school and several nonprofits. She committed to being an active PTA member and has since served on the PTA board at the elementary and middle school level. She served as PTA president for 3 terms at her son's elementary school, served on the PTA board at the middle school, and is currently serving on the school site council at the high school. She and her husband are also legacy partners with the Irvine Public School Foundation. One of Farrah's joys has been serving on the steering committee for the Irvine Global Village Festival for the past 6 years. She's also a proud CERT, that's Community Emergency Response Team volunteer with the Irvine Police Department, a program she highly recommends for every resident and business of Irvine. Farrah currently serves as the executive director of the Newport Mesa Irvine Interfaith Council. Farrah finds great pride in working with the faith communities, not only for dialogue, but also to discuss social and economic issues affecting Irvine, Newport Beach, and Costa Mesa. Farrah was appointed as a Community Services Commissioner in 2014. During her time as commissioner, she was the only commissioner who took the time to get to know the city parks, open spaces, land development, amenities, and employees. She was an advocate for sufficient park space. Farrah ran for the Irvine City Council in the 2016 election as a first-time candidate and was proud to have placed 4th out of 11 candidates in a hard-fought race. In 2018, she ran again and was elected to the Irvine City Council with the highest votes among 12 candidates, making her the first woman of color to be elected to the council. In 2020, she became the Mayor of Irvine in California, where she now serves. Farrah assumed office on December 8th, 2020.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
All thanks and praises are due to God. We seek God's help and forgiveness. We seek refuge in God from the evil within ourselves and the consequences of our evil deeds. Whoever God guides will never be led astray, and whoever God allows to go astray will never find guidance. I bear witness there is no God but God, alone without any partners, and I bear witness that Muhammad is God's servant and God's final messenger. O you who believe, be mindful of God, as is God's due, and make sure you devote yourselves to God, to your dying moment. Quran 3:102. It is an honor to be here with you today, again. What a difference 4 years can make in our little lives. When I was here with you right after the 2016 presidential election, I had lost my first campaign for Irvine City Council at a time when I felt like our nation had lost its way. I know I was a little bitter and we were all a bit scared of what was to come, but I remember the message clearly. We needed time to get through our emotions of denial, despair, anger, and eventually move towards hope. We ended with a resolve that we would do better and get more involved. I remember asking you all to do something so you could be counted as a person and not just a statistical number. Today, let's review what we've accomplished in these past 4 years and commit to what we must do next. I want to note that all political opinions in my khutbah today are my own and not spoken on behalf of the Women's Mosque of America. In the Quran, Surah 49, verse 9, we read about two groups of believers who fight each other and are told that if one of them goes against the law or code of conduct, then fight against the transgressing group. Surely Allah loves those who uphold justice. In these past 4 years, many of us have taken over our streets with marches, rallies, and protests. From the Women's March to the Muslim ban, climate change, the wall, gun violence, DACA, family separation, to the Black Lives Matter movement. We spent a lot of time these past 4 years in the streets. We raised awareness about issues, debated friends on social media, and found out that intersectionality was truly an ally for all our causes. Law professor and social theorist Kimberly Crenshaw coined the term intersectionality in 1989. People are often disadvantaged by several factors. You have race, class, gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, and more. The early feminist movements did not take into account women of color, immigrant women, or poor women. Their focus was on the white middle-class woman. Through intersectionality, the feminist movements of today bring income inequalities, immigration, sexism, and so much more into the conversation. It is important to recognize the difference between who is speaking and who needs to be heard. That is important. In the past 4 years, I found myself intertwining in so many realms that not long ago worked in silos. Interfaith efforts and social justice efforts were finding ways to merge. Non-political people were figuring out how to get involved in politics. The youth became bold because they didn't trust that the adults of today would protect their tomorrow. It was chaotic, yet beautiful. A scary time that found comfort in diversity. In the Quran, Surah 49, verse 13, we read, "We created you from a single pair of male and female, and made you into nations and tribes that you may know each other, not that you may despise each other." Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is the one who is the most righteous of you. This verse is used so many times in interfaith circles, but I find it relates to any situation because in the fight for civil liberties, it doesn't matter whether you're brown or black, Muslim, non-Muslim, immigrant, young or elderly. All that matters is the freedom and sanctity of human life. During these 4 years, we did come together to get to know one another and work side by side. And in doing so, we created space for ourselves to sit at the table where policies are made and laws are passed. Did we know that the 2016 election and the 4 years that came after would somehow result in 170 Muslim candidates running for office in 28 states throughout the US? This is up from a dozen that ran in 2016, according to NPR. That for the first time, a presidential candidate would hold a pre-election forum with the American Muslim community, and that we would now have three Muslims in the US Congress, all women, by the way. We made a difference. There were countless Muslims throughout the US who mobilized, made phone calls, wrote postcards, and canvassed. I remember I had a 70-year-old Pakistani auntie who made phone calls on my campaign. And like clockwork, she would join in on Zoom and go through the call list. She was amazing and really good. One day I was thanking her for being so dedicated, and she told me that she wanted to see me accomplish what she couldn't. And as a candidate, I can't even begin to share the type of pressure I felt hearing this. And this is just one story. There are countless others. And with each one, the burden grows. Last time I was here, I remember sharing with you how hard my first campaign was. The hoops I jumped through, the hurdles I jumped over, and still was faced with the hate because of my religion and attacked with lies. But in these 4 years, I ran for city council again and came in first out of 12 candidates, becoming the first Muslim woman elected to office in Southern California and the first woman of color to be elected to the Irvine City Council ever. And then in the face of the BLM movement and countless social injustices, I found myself running against our mayor, who instead of inviting healthy dialogue and debate, was telling people that if they didn't like her city, they could find another city to live in. Instead of listening to their concerns, she told UCI students who were struggling to pay rent to find jobs at Amazon. I found her lack of empathy to be unacceptable. So within 6 months, I did everything I could to defeat a 26-year incumbent, someone who has never lost an election, and it became the first Muslim woman mayor of a major city in the US. But I do want to recognize my sister, Sadaf Jaffer, who was the first Muslim woman mayor in the US. And it's not counted among the major cities, but remember, we never want to erase someone's achievement. And I thank her for all she's done. You know, sometimes I feel God puts me in positions of discomfort to see what I'll do with it. Most of the time, I'm hoping I'm making the right decisions. Throughout the Quran, and in so many of its verses, we are reminded to have belief and rely on God. And I can't tell you how much comfort there is in taking action with intent and then relying on God through prayer. In these past 4 years, my hair has gotten more white, but my heart is content. Verily, God does not change a people's condition unless they change their inner selves. Read in Surah 13, verse 11. In the next half of the khutbah, I will discuss the importance of working towards justice and peace. I say what I've said. May God forgive all of us. Alhamdulillah. All praise and thanks are due to God alone. The end of 2020 doesn't mean the end of an era. It's just the beginning of an awakening. No one person or even administration can do right on their own. This democratic republic government of ours requires people, the people component. Hatred, bigotry, xenophobia, and even bad policies are not going to end because of an election. So the work continues, and it needs you. As we witnessed There are people who are ready to take up arms and defend a lie. They are ready to tear down democracy over a conspiracy, but they are not alone. They are supported by a system that is in place today, a system that is prepared to pull out riot gear and rubber bullets when people of color protest for justice and equality, the same system that opens barricades to let insurgents enter the US Capitol without harm, a system that'll kill a Black man for holding a phone in his hand while in his backyard, yet let armed white men trespass governmental property without batting an eye. There is no such thing as justice and equality unless there is justice and equality for all. I don't know if you saw this statement on social media, but it sums up the inequities faced in particular by the Black community. It goes like this. We're not asking you to shoot them like you shoot us. We're asking you to not shoot us like you shoot them. I'll say it again. We're not asking you to shoot them like you shoot us. We're asking you to not shoot us like you don't shoot them. These are the systemic changes that need to be made in our country. But it sometimes seems that no matter who gets elected, not much seems to change. Maybe it's because the people getting elected don't understand the lives that historically oppressed and underrepresented groups live or the circumstances they go through. That's why there are now activists and people that are working together to get more Black representation, more Asian Pacific Islander representation, more Latino and Indigenous representation in government from the local level up to the federal level. We're starting to see more people get elected who know from firsthand experience what the inequities are and who will work towards fixing them, I hope. And this is where intersectionality comes in. There are about 3.45 million American Muslims in the United States. We are brown, Black, API, Latino, Native, white, you name it, and it's who we are. So where are we? Are we raising politicians, policymakers, historians, activists, journalists, writers? Are we? 170 people just ran for office out of 3.45 million. Who's working on the policies? Who's documenting the history? Who's telling the story about us? What can we accomplish if we don't control our own narrative? Think about that. It's not enough to give to charity, pray 5 times a day, and fast. More is expected of us, and we get to decide if we'll deliver. I don't want to tell my grandkids that I worked hard, bought a house, drove a nice car, and expected the same from my kids. I want to tell them that I worked hard, took some hits, but made sure that my comfort was not on the back of someone else's discomfort. I don't want to tell them what I watched happen from the comfort of my home. I want to tell them that I, along with so many others, made a difference by getting elected, supporting others to positions of power, fighting for equity, and that even the most timid of us spoke out against the injustice. I'll share a story with you. My boys were in elementary school when I took them with me to an MLK protest for justice and equity, organized by Reverend Mark Whitlock and others in Anaheim. This is probably 6 to 8 years ago. And in order to gain attention, some of us were asked to participate in civil disobedience and block traffic. We knew what we were getting into and what the possible outcomes would be. I handed my boys to the care of a friend because there weren't enough people willing to disrupt, so I would. Was I scared? Yes. Were my boys scared? Absolutely. Today they're 16 and 19 and know that while they go to school, work, or play, it's their job to speak up and call out injustice. As Muslims, justice and equity needs to be a priority for us. We cannot afford to be silent. We cannot afford to not care because that's not who we are. We may have forgotten. Some of us may have gotten lost along the way, but we are reminded over and over again throughout the Quran and throughout the Hadith documenting the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, the importance of justice from our religious practice of paying the day laborer before their sweat dries to making sure the balance is always exact when weighing products in business. Surah 4, verse 135 reads, O believers, stand firm for justice as witnesses for Allah, even if it is against yourselves, your parents, your close relatives. Whether one is rich or poor, Allah is more worthy of both. Surah 5, verse 8 reads, O you who believe, be upright for God, and be bearers of witness with justice, and not let hatred of a people incite you not to act equitably. Act equitably. That is nearer to piety. Surah 16, verse 90 reads, Allah orders justice, kindness, and good conduct. Allah forbids injustice, immorality, and oppression. Surah 55, verses 7 to 9 read, And the heaven God raised and imposed the balance, that you not transgress within the balance, and establish weight in justice, and do not make deficient the balance. All you have to do is open the book and read. The directions are there. They've never changed. The only thing that has changed is us. We've become complicit. So let's not just be a number in the census count, a number in a political statistic, or a number that stayed silent. Let us all, each one of us, be the person that people can rely on, whose words will break barriers, whose efforts will shatter ceilings, whose love for justice and equity will be the seeds planted today that fulfill the much needed shade for tomorrow. God commands justice, doing good, and generosity towards relatives, and God forbids what is shameful, blameworthy, and oppressive. God teaches you so that you may take heed. In the Quran, 1690. Recite what has been revealed to you of the book and stay consistent in prayer. Indeed, prayer restrains a human from lewd and wicked behavior, but the remembrance of God is even greater, and God knows everything you are doing. I pray. Let us all pray. I pray for those who have lost their lives in the fight for justice, those whose voices were silenced by oppression, and those who are now finding their way. May God guide us, protect us, and may we one day break the systems that bind our brothers and sisters. Wa aqimna as-salah. Let's perform the prayer.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة. قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Salam everyone. At this time, we are holding our prayers offline in order to accommodate the differences of opinion on the matter of prayer. So please pray on your own at home right now. At 2 p.m. Pacific time, we will start our live Q&A discussion with the Imam on Zoom. And to mark our 6th-year anniversary, we'll be treated with some beautiful poetry by Dania Aya Al-Kholi. This is only open to women and children who have RSVP'd through our newsletter. If you're joining us there, please log into the waiting room starting at 1:45 p.m. and turn your video on so that we can see you. Wa aqimna as-salah. Let's perform the prayer.